invite the devil to come into my home to eat at my table. I won't never break bread with this man. I hate this man. This man has destroyed my family. This man had took something from me that he can never give it back. Never. And I ask you, mercy, get this man life. What was he doing out here in society? Nothing. He was doing nothing. He was abusive. He broke her nose. He was taking her down. He was destroying her life. When she decided to say goodbye to Maxwell, he took her life. Because she was on a road to success. She was going to drop that zero because she hadn't found her hero. And her mother was happy. He took advantage. And he don't care. He ain't showed no remorse. He don't care. He killed my baby. And she was so dumb. She loved this monster.
A sanitation worker found her behind a vacant property on the east side of Detroit. She was inside a trash container. She had been reported missing just days before. Investigators arrived, looked at what was in front of them, and immediately opened a homicide investigation.
What is it coming to when you can just kill somebody like that for $500?
Her name was Kajavia Globe. She was 24 years old. And the case that followed would reveal that the person who put her there had been standing in plain sight the entire time, holding flyers with her face on them, helping the people who loved her search for a woman he already knew they would never find.
Family members of 24-year-old Kajavia Globe arrived on the scene near 7 Mile and Evergreen, crying and fearing the worst. A neighbor found a woman's body in the backyard of a home in the 18,000 block of Fielding. Police can't confirm, but they feel confident it is the body of Kajavia Globe. She's been missing since Friday.
This is Silent Outcome. Before we get started, leave a like, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe so you don't miss out on more cases like this.
A burst of energy, a little fireball. Her personality was just overwhelming, always smiling, always happy.
She grew up in Detroit, and she was going somewhere. Not in the abstract way people say that about young women after they are gone, but in the concrete, documented, already in motion way that the record of her life could point to with specifics. She had gotten herself into Communication and Media Arts High School, one of 4 magnet schools in the Detroit public system. That is not a school you drift into. It requires something deliberate from you before you ever walk through the door. By December of 2015, she was working at Minix in Farmington Hills. Her supervisor had personally selected her for the position, and by the end of that year, she had already earned a promotion.
Interviewed her and personally hired her for the new position, but she's a breath of fresh air, just very positive and happy.
She had walked into that job, done the work, and moved up. That is not a character description. That is a record. On the 11th of December 2015, Kajavia Globe was promoted. Her supervisors moved her up, and her coworkers gathered to mark it. And before she left that afternoon, she did something that nobody who was there that day would be able to forget once they understood what came next. She walked to her desk and she wrote the word goodbye on it. She wrote it because it was her last day in that role. She was moving on to something better, and she was marking the transition the way people do when a chapter closes and a better one is opening. Nobody in that building read anything into it. Why would they? She was celebrating with people who were happy for her, and the word goodbye on a desk is not a warning. It is just a farewell. Kajavia called her mother LaShonda every day, not most days, every day. And LaShonda knew her daughter's rhythms well enough that when the expected call did not come and the expected knock did not land, the absence would register not in hours but in minutes. Kajavia Globe was not disappearing from a life that was falling apart. She was disappearing from a life that was just beginning to arrive.
He was destruction from the jump, and I told my daughter that.
Maxwell Brack and Kajavia Globe met in high school, and the relationship that followed lasted for years, on and off. pulling apart and coming back together the way long relationships do, when two people have history that neither of them has fully processed. To people on the outside, they looked like a longtime couple, familiar, known quantities to each other. The kind of pairing that nobody questions because it has simply always been there. But the people closest to Kajavia did not see it that way. Her mother, LaShonda, had watched that relationship from a different angle for a long time, and what she saw concerned her deeply.
That baby, that was the devil. I seen it. I announced it. Not the fact that Maxwell upbringing. I raised 4 beautiful girls by myself. So his upbringing, when he said that has nothing to do with it. He was whooping my daughter ass. Excuse me, Your Honor. He was abusive. He broke her nose. He was taking her down.
LaShonda believed the relationship was abusive. She did not keep that belief to herself. She went directly to her daughter and tried to pull her away from it. She staged an intervention. She told Kajavia plainly what she saw and what she feared, and she was not alone in that. Other family members shared her concern and her opposition. The gap between what the relationship looked like from the outside and what it felt like from the inside was something the people who loved Kajavia had been trying to close for years. Brack moved through the world projecting something entirely different. To anyone who did not have LaShonda's view, he was the devoted former boyfriend present, concerned, the kind of man who showed up. That image was something he maintained carefully and would lean on heavily when it mattered most. What Kajavia was actually doing tells a clearer story than any of his projections. By December of 2015, she was no longer living with Brack. Court records place her at John Black's residence at the time she disappeared. She had made a physical move. She had put distance between herself and a relationship her family had been warning her about, and she had done it in the most concrete way available to her. She had changed where she slept at night. Family members saw it as exactly what it was. She was stepping into a different chapter. The exit was real, and it was documented, and the people who loved her recognized it as the beginning of something better. What they did not know was what Brack knew, and what he had decided about it. Prosecutors would later reveal that in the period leading up to December 11th, Brack had discovered that Kajavia had taken a video of the two of them together and sent it to his new girlfriend. He was furious. The woman who was supposed to remain within his reach had not only left, she had acted. She had done something he could not undo and could not control. And in the specific and documented way that this kind of rage operates, the fury was not about the video. It was about the fact that she had stopped being someone he could predict and manage and contain. She had moved out. She had moved on. And he had decided that was not something he was going to allow. She left work on December 11th. She walked out into the afternoon, and she did not come home. John Black noticed first. When Kajavia did not return, he reached out to her family, and the family did not hesitate. They knew immediately that something was wrong because Kajavia did not do this. She did not go missing from her own life without a word. She did not fail to come home, and fail to call, and fail to answer, and simply not appear. That was not who she was, and everyone who loved her understood that in the first hour. The search expanded quickly. Family members were out. The effort grew the way these efforts do when a community refuses to sit still and wait for news that might not come. And for days, the question of where Kajavia was had no answer. Then her vehicle turned up, abandoned. When investigators examined it, they found evidence that pointed directly toward criminal activity. The car had not simply been left somewhere. Something had happened in connection with it, and the people looking for Kajavia now understood that the search they were conducting had crossed into something much darker than a missing persons case. And then the surveillance footage surfaced. Someone had used Kajavia's ATM card after she disappeared. They had accessed her account and made a withdrawal, and the cameras captured all of it. The person on that footage was wearing a skeleton-style mask, covering their face deliberately, moving through the transaction with the kind of calm that does not belong to someone who has stumbled into a terrible situation. It belongs to someone who has already decided what they are doing and why. Police released the images publicly. They needed the public's help identifying the person behind that mask. And as that footage began to circulate, as Kajavia's family and her community looked at the image of someone walking away from her bank account while she was already gone, the question was no longer whether something terrible had happened to her. The question was who had been calm enough to put on a mask and walk up to an ATM and take her money while the people who loved her were still out on the street calling her name. If you are watching this on Silent Outcome and you have not subscribed yet, right now is the moment, because what the investigation uncovered about the person behind that mask is something you need to see through to the end. The evidence led to Maxwell Brack. Wayne County prosecutors charged him with open murder, and Brack did what he had always done. He maintained his innocence. He had a story, and he intended to tell it. What he did not account for was a jury that had seen the same evidence the investigators had seen, and was not interested in his version of events. They convicted him of second-degree murder. What happened next in that courtroom said everything about who Maxwell Brack actually was. After the verdict came down, he sat in his chair and he smiled. He was observed laughing and joking with his attorney. A jury had just found him guilty of killing a 24-year-old woman, and he was smiling about it in the room where her family was sitting. Judge Cynthia Gray Hathaway was watching, and she remembered it when he stood before her for sentencing. She sentenced him to 70 to 100 years in prison. Then she addressed the smile directly. She called his conduct utter disrespect, and she added 10 years to his sentence specifically because of it. Brack stood before her and said he had not been smiling at the verdict. The judge had already made her decision. He came into that sentencing with 5 prior misdemeanors and 2 prior felonies. He left facing the likelihood that he would never be a free man again. His conviction was later upheld on appeal. When it was time for the family to speak at sentencing, Kajavia's younger sisters stood up first. Then, LaShonda Globe stood up. And now she was standing in a courtroom delivering the words that no mother should ever have to find. She was on a road to success, LaShonda said. She was going to drop that 0 because she had found her hero, and her mother was happy. He knew that, and he took her anyway. She told the court she would never invite the devil into her home or to eat at her table. That is what she called him, not by his name, the devil. Outside the courtroom and in the days that followed her death, the community that knew Kajavia did not stay quiet. Her co-workers turned her desk at Minax into a memorial. The place where she had written goodbye on her last day became the place where people left flowers. A rally was held at 7 Mile and Evergreen on Detroit's west side. People gathered not just for Kajavia, but in recognition of what her loss represented: another young woman, another bright life, another family left to carry something that had no bottom to it. 24 purple balloons were released, 1 for every year she had been alive. Purple was her favorite color. The people who loved her knew that. They wanted to make sure everyone else did too. Kajavia Globe was 24 years old. She had moved out of a relationship that was harming her and into a life that was finally opening up the way she had always been working toward. She had gotten herself into the right school, built herself into the right employee, earned the promotion, made the move, taken the step. She was not waiting for her life to begin. It had already begun. She was already inside it. On the last afternoon of her life, she walked to her desk and wrote 1 word on it: goodbye. She meant it as a beginning, a door closing behind her so a better one could open in front of her. That is all it was supposed to be. If this case has stayed with you the way it has stayed with us at Silent Outcome, Drop a comment below and tell us how you feel about the way this played out, the investigation, the trial, the sentence. Say whatever you need to say, and know that the next case we are already looking into is one that will not leave you quickly either. The word she wrote on that desk was supposed to be about leaving a job behind. Kajavia Globe knows what it became instead, and she will carry that knowledge for the rest of her life.
How do you feel, Brittany?
A''NIA.
Okay. And Lauren?
Lawrence.
Okay.
Hello.
Lawrence, you with me?
I just want to say that I'm torn apart. I don't sleep at night no more. I feel like what he think he did, whatever he did, he accomplished. I just hope that, excuse me, but I just hope that a broom gets stuck up in his butt every day. I hope that he suffers. I hope I just really hope he suffers. And I see he already suffering because of the ball on his head. But I really don't have to filter right now, so I would.
How are you related to?
I'm her youngest sister, the baby.
Sister?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Who's there with you? Who the two ladies?
This is my mother, and this is my second older sister.
Your mother is a young lady. Okay. What's the mother? Give your full name for the record. Speak.
Kajavia Globe. I'm gonna let D speak first, cause
Okay.
I'm gonna leave that for a second.
All right.
Alondriana Burns, for the record. I'm right under Kajavia, so now I'm the oldest. I just want to let everybody know that counseling is more than needed, and I lost my backbone. I lost everything. I have my younger sisters, but it's nothing compared. Anybody in the world that knows, Maxwell knows how me and my sister is. I'm saying, but she Louise, and I don't have my sister no more. And I just want everybody to know hurt is not a word. To destroy is not a word. I would just ask, and I know it's so far-fetched, but why you didn't? You could have just took us together, because I've never had to live without my sister, and it's awful. And I know that's something I shouldn't wish for myself, but if he could have just had me too, and we would have been together, because I know whatever happened to her, she was scared and she was afraid, and nobody was there to help her. And if I was there, it would have been two of us, but I know I would have been there with my sisters. And that's all I got to say.
All right, Mrs. Globe.
Your Honor, I'm addressing you today as a mother that had an intuition that, baby, that was the devil. I seen it. I announced it. It's not the fact that I don't Maxwell upbringing. I raised 4 beautiful girls by myself. So his upbringing, when he said that has nothing to do with it. He was whooping my daughter ass. Excuse me, Your Honor. He was abusive. He broke her nose. He was taking her down. He was destroying her life. When she decided to say goodbye to Maxwell, he took her life. Because she was on a road to success. She was going to drop that zero because she hadn't found her hero. And her mother was happy. Kajavia covered up that tattoo. Kajavia was flossing, showing Mac that she hadn't came up. He didn't like that. The control that he had, he saw that it was leaving him. It was gone. And he couldn't handle that. So he took her life. Because his life wasn't about nothing. Got on stand talking about some prescription. That was his business. How dumb did he really look? Didn't give his attorney time to help defend him. He want to sit here like he was an attorney. Never showed any remorse to us. Never. Got my baby flight, and what did he say? He didn't pass out not one of my baby flight. Because he knew he hadn't killed Lucy. He knew he had to strike. He knew I didn't like him. When he put my baby in that dumpster, that was something to me because I always told him in his face he was trash. He was trash. He was breaking my baby down. He didn't be no good to my baby. And I tried everything a mother could. I did an intervention on my baby. I did everything. Got her out that abusive relationship. This man came to my house. This man fighting my daughter. He hit the pole. You know, he took off in her car. I called the police. They wanted to arrest me because I was going to discipline my daughter. I disciplined my girl. Yes, I'm strict. Yes, I'm stern. Yes, he would have never ate at my table. I would never invite the devil to come into my home to eat at my table. I won't never break bread with this man. I hate this man. This man has destroyed my family. This man had took something from me that he can never give it back. Never. And I ask you, mercy, get this man life. What was he doing out here in society? Nothing. He was doing nothing. Nothing. And my daughter was doing something. She was going for her dream. He saw it. He saw me. He couldn't handle it. You know, he didn't deserve her. He didn't understand what he had. He wanted to bring her down instead of uplift her. He was no good to her. Do you understand? And then all these young other girls, that could have been them. That could have been their parents sitting out here, life destroyed. Do you understand? But they want to sit on here like they're doing something. You understand? And I see why he told everybody he'll never leave her. Because looking at what the work he put on that stand, I know. Because he had a diamond in the rough, baby. He don't want to know how to treat her. He don't want had a baby on her. He don't want to call me several times and told me how he disrespect my daughter. Do you understand what I'm saying? He did this. John Black's family has been there with our family from day one. Do you understand? John Black ain't did nothing. Do you understand? Because John Black, he let us be aware that she wasn't home. Because when I met John Black, I laid my rules down just like what I did with that piece of bomb over there. Do you understand what I'm saying? He took advantage. And he don't care. He ain't show no remorse. He don't care. He killed my baby. And she was so dumb. She loved this monster. You done went to the bank on my baby money. You ain't know nothing about J.L. Bank. Baby, she brought you into something. You took my baby from me, Max. And I have told you and Kajavia, leave each other alone. Because one day one of y'all can hurt each other. But you hurt her intentionally, but you didn't see her. But you knew she had groceries in her car. And then a seizure. My baby had a convulsion, Your Honor, while he was killing her. Because that honey, out of her 24 years, she never had a seizure. In '09, she was enjoying her senior prom, living the life. He was mad because he wasn't invited into that lifestyle. That's all that was. He was jealous. I told Kajavia, he's jealous of you. Ma, you just don't like her. I said, baby, he don't like you. And look where we at today. This man has destroyed my family. My daughter was finna go to the Navy August the 3rd. Her mind ain't even right. He just destroyed it. So you understand? He don't care. He don't care. That was him at the base. I said it from day one because he had on that mask. I didn't care because Lucy's phone was sitting right in his lap. A lot of stuff at the trial was not mentioned, and I am highly pissed off. I'm highly upset about that too. Some facts that I felt should have been brought out, and I thank you because you called it a couple of times. Well, I was like, I couldn't say it, but you felt it. Like, let's get serious with this. Because a lot of people got on that saying was a joke. They didn't bring nothing to the table. Because he would have got first degree. Do you understand? If it would have been ran right, he would have gotten first degree murder. Because Max know he did it. That's why he got them flyers and didn't pass them out. That's why I can't understand how the video or when my daughter met him. I saw that video, and the video y'all talking about his demeanor. His demeanor. That video told his demeanor. That takes 6 for a step. Not them other young ladies. A demeanor as a murder. He was sitting there all discombobulated. Couldn't get himself together. Okay? Whether he known he was taped or not. Okay. So what? He know he had took Kajavia. And then she loved this man.
Well, that thing would have been a
Do you understand?
yeah.
She loved this man.
So sad. I am going to strongly suggest, though, that the family seek intensive.
Yes, we need it.
Because it's
Yeah.
a very hurting situation. And don't be afraid to do that.
I'm not.
Don't be afraid to do that. Don't worry about what other people will say or anything like that.
Nope.
You have to carry on with the rest of your family. And the rest of the family has to carry on with you. So you'll never be the same, but try to minimize the hurt by getting counsel. Okay? And I do understand. I understand. All right?
I would like to, I'm not finished. Because this is the last time.
I got that.
Oh, okay.
Everything because you're starting to repeat yourself. So
Okay.
not enough words for the situation, that's for sure. Okay? Anything else from the prosecution?
Very briefly, Your Honor. As the court obviously noted, the family is, full of a variety of emotions, namely anger and a lot of pain. And that's not something that we look at when we talk about sentencing, especially when I talk about. And I filed a sentencing memorandum in this case because I feel that there are some things that the sentencing guidelines, although they are advisory, do not address. I'm not going to go over everything that's in my motion. I know the court has already looked at it, but I would like to note a couple of things. This man put a 24-year-old girl in a dumpster and then sat her out on the curb like it was a normal trash day. That's not something that the sentencing guideline can adequately score. And although OV-19 is scored, we're limited to 10 points, although, as I laid out, there are several examples in this case where Mr. Brack tried his best to undermine the administration of justice. And after he was convicted, he sat over in this chair and laughed and joked with his attorney. He laughed and joked about being convicted of second-degree murder, Your Honor. There is nothing funny about what happened in this case. There's nothing funny about what happened during this trial. There's nothing funny today. And when I read his pre-sentence report, and this was a very thorough report, the author looked at his behavior during his first period of incarceration, which was only 2 years. And he had 6 misconduct, which shows how he feels about authority and his lack of regard for anyone else. And Your Honor, I believe that all of those things are more than reasonable in my request to ask you to exceed the top of the guideline. I don't think that anything less than 50 years is appropriate. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Grant. Do you have anything to say before the court imposes? Yes.
I'm innocent. I didn't do this. And to address the smiling in the courtroom, it was an incident that was going on at that time. And Mr. Weisman was advising me to keep my cool. because it was an incident with a deputy who was uttering some things to me as I was coming out. And he was advising me to keep my cool, and that's what that was about. It didn't have anything to do with me smiling, being found guilty of a murder that I've said time and time again that I didn't do. So I couldn't have been getting away with anything. I'm found guilty. So it would be no reason. I wasn't smiling at the fact that I was being found guilty. I don't think it's funny that I was found guilty. You know, like I said, Mr. Wiseman was advising me at that time to keep my cool about the situation I was going on with the deputy who had some type of underlying issue with me beforehand.
As I recall, the incident with the deputy, and I money the deputy.
I didn't know you knew.
For what was said, because I didn't think that it was appropriate. But all of that occurred after the jury reached its verdict, and it occurred when you were being taken back to the lockup. It didn't occur before the jury's verdict. The laughing and the smiling that's being discussed occurred as the jury reached its verdict.
Right.
And the deputy hadn't said anything to you at that point.
Yes. When I came out the courtroom, the deputy was standing right where this gentleman is standing, right? And she looked at me as I was coming out and said like something under her breath, so it caught my attention.
Well,
so as I was walking,
what was there to smile about?
Because when I got to
it didn't seem like the exchange between you and the deputy was a pleasant one.
No, it was
so what was there to smile about?
Because I was becoming angry about it, and Mr. Wiseman was telling me to keep my cool. The jury's on their way out here, just keep it cool. And I was telling him, as I was smiling, I was saying she's really trying to get up under my skin. She's really trying to get to me. And that's what that was about. It wasn't pertaining to me getting found guilty.
Yeah, I have a copy of the video if the court wants to see it.
Continue, anything else?
I just want to say it was a lot of exculpatory evidence that wasn't shown to the jury. And I feel some ways about what's going on and what has happened. But everything I do and say get misconstrued in some type of negative way. So they conclude everything I'm saying.
I read your background report and I listened very carefully to the testimony at the trial by you and others about your background. And it's not ideal. It's not an ideal situation for a child, but I want to make it very clear that not every child who grows up with disadvantages, parents not there, maybe biological family members not there, not every one of those situations turns out a child with behavior like you displayed, because you at least were about 16 years of age. That's when your criminal record began. In fact, I would say that most children who grow up with certain disadvantages similar to yours turn out to be very sensitive, caring people. Because it's very difficult in this world to grow up without somebody, and usually it's a number of people, showing concern for children. And it's hard to grow up here in this country without some adult showing concern and caring feeling for children who have disadvantages similar to yours. And so children grow up feeling that love and affection and warmth that whoever is giving it to them. That's why we talk about, it takes a village, and because children will accept affection
and warmth from adults, no matter who it is. That's why we have to worry and be concerned about our children speaking to strangers. But we all know that most children, no matter what their circumstances are, they could be bad, they could be great, whatever. But children, minors, generally will accept affection and guidance, which shows that the adults care about them. They generally will. But for some reason, there are a few who grow up in that situation, the disadvantaged situation, as well as the advantaged situation. And they end up with behavior like yours. And as the mother, Mrs. Globe, just said, and as she said in the trial, and I hear her, I hear what she's saying. She's not saying, even though she did say she hates you, but she didn't mean that when you were 16 years old. She didn't hate you because of your lack of a family background similar to her daughter. Mrs. Globe, the mother's concern was that if you grew up in a disadvantaged situation where you might not have gotten the warmth and affection from other people that could have made you a sensitive and a caring human being, her daughter was in trouble. That's what she was saying. She was saying that if you're not sensitive, if you're not caring, if you're not concerned about other people's feelings, if you're selfish, and you're with someone who is sensitive, who is concerned about other people, who is not selfish, may be in trouble. And it's just so unfortunate that here we are today. Here we are today. There probably was something about your behavior at 16 and 16 that indicated to Mrs. Globe that her daughter was not in a good situation. She wasn't looking just at your background. She might not have been looking at it very much at all. But there was something about your behavior that confirmed her suspicion and her concerns about her child. And when I look at your background report, your juvenile background started around the time that Mrs. Globe says that you and her daughter started dating. It looks like it. It might have started before then, but we don't have that information. But this background report that's in front of me right now, that bad behavior started around the time that you were dating Miss Globe as a thief in high school. Now, if a parent, a responsible parent, sees that, that responsible parent is not going to be happy. Not going to be happy. Not if you care about your child. And as Mrs. Globe said, she did everything that she could. She put her child through intervention to try to get the child to see that the person that the child is caring for is probably not the person that that child should be caring for. And then I look at your prior record, juvenile adjudication. And as soon as you become an adult adjudication, 5 prior misdemeanors, 2 prior felonies. This is all just adult behavior. This is not the juvenile. The 5 misdemeanors, the 2 felonies. Somewhere during those convictions, I'm sure that you were counseled. I'm sure that someone within the legal system tried to get help for you if you needed it, and it didn't work. Didn't work. Now you're here with the 3 felonies. 1 is just the worst possible one, and 5 misdemeanors. You seem to have had complete control over your trial with your defense attorney. There were all kinds of demands that you were making, demands that at times I found really just despicable during this trial. I didn't like a lot of the things that your defense attorney was saying. I didn't like a lot of the interactions between the two of you at that table. I thought it was disrespectful. But I knew that defense attorney was doing exactly what you were asking him to do. And that was put on a show. Put on a show where another human being has been murdered. That's despicable. Absolutely despicable. It's inhumane. It shows insensitivity to others. It's selfish. It shows a lack of concern for others. All the things that Mrs. Globe was concerned about. It played out right here in this courtroom. It was sad to see our legal system misused in that way for a show. And in this courtroom, I take that very seriously. We don't have shows in this courtroom. We don't have entertainment in the courtroom, not without consequences. It may happen, but it won't be without consequences. And it happened here, and then to top it off, as soon as that jury said guilty of second-degree murder, not first-degree murder, there's the smile between you and your lawyer. It's despicable. Insensitive. Lack of concern for others. Selfishness. So, I agree with the prosecutor in this case. Not because they said it, but because of what I experienced just during this trial. These guidelines are not sufficient for this sentence. Yeah, it's not mandatory life without parole. It isn't that. But these guidelines of around 46, 47 years at the top, no, they're not sufficient at all. So for all of the reasons that I've discussed, all of the reasons that I've heard this morning, all of the reasons that I talked about of what happened during the trial, it's the sentence of this court that on the second-degree murder charge, you be sentenced to a minimum period of 70 years, a maximum period of 100 years, and the last 10 years of that 70-year sentence, that's for the smile. It's simple. You're entitled to appellate review of your conviction and sentence by leave. If you need a court-appointed attorney to represent you in that, drop that. You're entitled to appellate review of your sentence as of right. If you need a court-appointed attorney to represent you in that matter, you must file a written request to the court within 42 days of today's date. The court will honor that request and provide your attorney with the records and transcripts to effectuate that appeal. Restitution is to be determined The jail credit is showing at 236 days. Is that accurate?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
All right. Anything else?
You have to copy. Nothing further. Copy it. You get a copy.
Okay.
Lucky me.
Huh?
Lucky me.
Yeah.
Can I get a copy of that order that the judge signed? You know the one I'm talking about with Dr. Spitz that I turned in last week. She said she had some address and I picked up the time and size. Or do you want me to come back for it?
Okay,
Can I wait?
Yes.
Should I wait or can I sit here? Okay, thank you.
We'll take about a 10-minute break.
Is that it? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you as always, sir.
She gave me